Welcome to 5 in 15,
a podcast where we cover 5 current event topics
in 15 minutes. I'm Hilary.
And I'm Zara, and we are your hosts for today.
This week's weather report is sponsored by L'Oreal, because you're worth it. This week in Southern California, we're looking at high 60s to low 70s at the beginning with a 40% chance of rain on Monday. Temperatures will slowly increase throughout the week, ending with a high of 75 degrees on Friday, and cool off again with lows on Saturday and Sunday in the 50s. Looks like we're starting to see some more fall-appropriate weather as we begin to approach the middle of the season. Speaking of which, this episode's recipe of the week ties perfectly into the theme of autumn. A twist on the classic dessert pumpkin pie was recently created and posted by a southern food blog. It consists of a rich, creamy pumpkin custard and is topped with cinnamon crumbles, another well-loved seasonal spice. The bloggers dubbed their creation Snickerdoodle Pumpkin Pie. This delicious dessert is the perfect addition to any gatherings with friends or family this season. The full recipe is linked in the description if you wish to try it yourself.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has today decided to award Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel, with one half to David Card for his empirical contributions to labor economics.
What do you think of when you hear the phrase Nobel Prize?
Well, I know that Nobel Prize winner is one of the most prestigious and honorable titles that one can receive. I also think about one of the most famous prize winners, a Pakistani girl named Malala Yousafzai. At the young age of 17, she was given the Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts in giving all children education access.
Nobel Prizes are awarded every year on December 10th in memory of Alfred Nobel's passing. Nobel was a Swedish chemist, engineer, and inventor who made many gains in the field of science during his lifetime. After he died, he donated his fortunes to establish the Nobel Prize. The original prize categories were physics, chemistry, physiology, and medicine, literature, and peace. A sixth category, economics, was added later in 1968.
Recently, the Nobel Prize in Economics has been awarded to David Card, a professor at the University of California, Berkeley.
Card was awarded the prize for his research on how the minimum wage, immigration, and education affect the labor market. Through trials of natural experiments that included monitoring restaurants in New Jersey, all the way to immigration patterns of people from Cuba to the U.S., Card was able to dispel theories that had ruled the economic world for decades.
He was able to conclude that raising the minimum wage did not kill jobs, and influxes of immigrants had no impact on the wages of non-immigrant workers. His work invigorated more research efforts on the topic and helped a generation of economists and policymakers reevaluate the costs and benefits of immigration.
Now it's time for this episode's 5 in 15 quiz question. Today's question is, how often does the United States conduct the census? Is the answer A, every 5 years, B, every 6 months, C, every 10 years, or D, every 20 years? Time's up. The correct answer was C, every 10 years. In 2020, we took the U.S. Census, which collects data and helps determine the number of seats each state has in the House of Representatives.
Because of this, 3 representatives in West Virginia are fighting for only 2 seats in the House after the state lost a seat due to slow population growth. The loss of the seat has the 3 reps, Carol Miller, David McKinley, and Alex Mooney, pitted against each other for the upcoming 2022 elections. Now, depending on how the state Senate decides to reapportion the districts, will leave one of the 3 candidates scrambling to knock down their colleagues in order to win re-election.
All 3 candidates have already taken to publishing their own redistricting plans, or simply just running negative ad campaigns to ensure their safety in the election and leave the other candidates to battle it out.
Hey, Hilary, how did you celebrate your most recent birthday?
Oh, it was pretty casual, nothing too exciting. I just visited the mall with my friends. My family also took me to my favorite Italian restaurant for dinner. And of course, we did the typical tradition of lighting candles, singing happy birthday, and eating cake.
Well, it might be simple, but it certainly is heartwarming. On another note, though these traditions you mentioned might sound ordinary to us, a lot of cultures around the world celebrate birthdays differently. In Brazil, you're given some decadent chocolate called truffles for your birthday. And during the celebration, the guests get to tug at your earlobes for each year you've been alive. Canada has a tradition of smearing butter on the birthday boy or girl's face. More butter is used for each year you turn. In Vietnam, individual birthdays aren't even celebrated. Instead, on Vietnamese New Year, everyone commemorates turning 1 year older together. This day is known as Tet.
How interesting. To add on, I always thought birthdays are intriguing because people tend to perceive them differently depending on age. For most children, it's a joyous occasion filled with gifts, bounce houses, friends, and fun. To many adults, however, it's a grim reminder of just how quickly they're aging. Yet, to the elderly, it may be a day to commemorate another year of living. But still, to many, it's simply another nondescript day.
Either way, I think it can be agreed upon that birthdays are a fascinating topic.
In some other news, a man in Louisiana just celebrated his 112th birthday and is considered the oldest World War II veteran in the United States.
The man is named Lawrence Brooks, and he was born in Northwood, Louisiana in 1909. Lawrence was first drafted in 1940 as a private in the Army's 91st Engineer Battalion. Now living in New Orleans, Lawrence received a drive-by party hosted by the National World War II Museum that included a Jeep parade, a live performance by the museum vocal trio, and entertainment from New Orleans musicians, and an official proclamation from the city.
His advice for life? Serve God and be nice to people.
Hey Zara, what do you think the world is going to be like when we get to be as old as Lawrence Brooks?
Well, I'm looking forward to all the new technology we'll have in the future. There's so many great inventors around the world. It's exciting to see what they'll come up with next.
Very true. Ooh, do you know what sounds interesting? Hear me out. A device that records our dreams and lets us watch them on a screen like a movie the next day.
That would be so fun, but I'd personally want something that makes everyday life more convenient. Imagine being able to teleport from home to school and work. No more waiting in traffic.
That does sound revolutionary, but is it even possible? Well, anyway, I don't want to be the bringer of bad news, but there is one pressing world issue I think should be brought into the light.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Well, as many are already aware, climate change is no new issue around the world. However, its pace has recently begun to speed up. As many as 50 major coastal cities might have to take measures to stop the rising oceans from sweeping over their residential areas. According to researchers from Princeton University, if the planet's average temperature reaches 3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, then sea levels are expected to rise by alarming amounts, affecting areas where an estimated 800 people currently live. A predictive model of what this change would look like showed Bangladesh's Lalbagh Fort flooded with water up to its 20-foot-5 tall gates. If current trends continue, global temperatures could reach the 3 degrees threshold by the 2060s or 70s.
Yikes, that would be catastrophic. I know that emissions from cars and congested traffic is one of the leading causes of climate change, but I need my car to get to school and back. And I'm sure it's the same for many others. Hey, if we had the ability to teleport, that would solve a lot of problems.
Well, there are still a lot of things we can do to slow climate change with our current technology. We might not have teleportation yet, but there are cars that run on fuel other than gas, such as electric and hybrid cars. Also, we have to start using more renewable energy sources, such as solar power, hydroelectricity, and wind turbines.
This will reduce the need to burn fossil fuels for electricity and other power sources, and as a result, there will be less carbon emissions to trap heat inside the atmosphere.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the future will bring, but first you have to make sure that future is secure. Hilary, quick question. How would you feel if you cast your vote in an election only to discover after the results were announced that your vote was not counted?
I mean, I've never voted before, obviously. I'm not of age yet. But I can imagine I'd be furious. As citizens, we're guaranteed the right to vote and make our voices heard in the government. It would be appalling to think they've taken that away from us. Well, why do you ask?
Believe it or not, a similar scenario happened to many people in Georgia's most recent election for state governor. 2 election workers in Georgia's Fulton County were caught shredding over 300 ballots before the local election next month and later arrested.
It's unbelievable that someone would stoop that low. At least they were stopped before the results of the election were announced, though.
However, that's not all. The reveal of this scandal raised more questions amongst the citizens of Georgia, particularly supporters of Trump during the 2020 election. Many accused the corrupt election workers of rigging Georgia's polls from this election too, though there is little concrete evidence to prove this claim. Debates about whether Trump actually won Georgia's vote were eventually quelled as the state votes were recounted 3 times and other baseless claims were debunked.
Well, that concludes today's episode of 5 and 15. In summary, our episode began with a discussion of the most recent Nobel Prize winner in economics, David Card. His research helped conclude that immigrants overall had no negative impact on a country's economy, creating a brighter future for those who plan to move internationally. Then, we covered Virginia's loss of 1 seat in the House of Representatives, which sent its 3 previous members into a panic to keep their jobs. Lawrence Brooks, who is considered the United States' oldest World War II veteran, recently celebrated his 112th birthday in Louisiana. Alarming new reports about the speeding of global warming have arisen, and it is now estimated that water will oversweep the houses of 800 million people by the 2060s or 70s. And finally, 2 election workers from Georgia were arrested after they were seen shredding hundreds of ballots for the state's upcoming election. And now, to wrap up today's episode, please stand for the national anthem, sung by Jasmine Sullivan and Eric Church.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly at the twilight's last broad shines and bright stars through the rolling sky. Oh,
Thank you to all of our listeners, and we hope to see you in the next episode.